Let's go get him. Have you guess what it is?
Do you like my bum bag?
Love it, babe. You work it. There's two of them. Look at the size of them. How's that going for you? The bag, love the bag.
Really close, aren't I?
Yeah.
Good morning. We had a restful night's sleep at the Plantation Campsite, and today we're starting with the Chautauqua Loop. So it includes Clematis Falls and also Bullaces Glen, and the walk back is through Halls Gap's Botanical Garden. So it's a 6-kilometre loop, and here we go.
We just arrived at Clematis Falls for our first stop for the day. It wasn't overly exciting, the waterfall's not really flowing that strongly, but we didn't really check out much of it because unfortunately there was a dead animal, and by a dead animal I mean a dead kangaroo that was squashed by a fallen tree by the looks of it. It's been there for a while, surrounded by lots of flies and everything, so I'm surprised it hasn't been alerted to the Halls Gap Park people to come probably move that poor kangaroo out.
So we're 350 metres or so away from Chautauqua Peak, and you can see it in the background. It's a bit of a rock scramble up there. I did it a couple years ago and it's always nice and fun. So the sun is out for us, so it's going to be a nice scramble.
If you're not a fan of heights, I don't think this would be the best walk in Halls Gap to do. There's sheer drops on both sides here of the ridgeline. It's actually quite scary. I'm surprised it hasn't been fenced off or anything like that. There's still arrows all the way to the top. So they must think it's safe enough, but it is a little scary, and you need to have pretty stable shoes, I think, with lots of traction, or you might find yourself slipping over a fair bit. It was only like a 350 metre walk to the peak here, but the scrambling and all the rock climbing made it quite rewarding when we got to the top. And with the views on both sides of us, with the water and Halls Gap on that side, and then we have just the Grampians forest on the left, it's made it even better. Spectacular.
We had our morning tea and taken in this view up here, and now it's time to head down and go through Bullaces Glen next.
We're on our way to Bullaces Glen, and about 500 metres after we came down from Chautauqua Peak, we've walked into my second favourite animal. Let's go get him. Have you guess what it is? Oh, he's moved off the track. There's two of them. Look at the size of them. Look at them. They're like goats. There's three of them. Come on, follow me. Follow me. Follow me. Oh, there's like 6 of them.
Oh, this baby
Unbelievable.
goats.
They're like mountain goats. Look at that big one on the right. He's got a beard. This dude over here. I think the lads need to have a shave, get rid of a bit of fluff down there. I reckon I grow a better fluff than them.
That's so funny.
We're not entirely sure what Bullaces Glen means or what it stands for, but I think it may be like a
winter waterfall.
Winter waterfall, yeah, definitely.
It's just trickling off the top, and
Yeah.
it's not very impressive in the summer.
No, it's not. And there's just fallen trees and fallen logs all over the creek on the way down, so it doesn't make for very good viewing, but I can imagine it must be pretty good in winter.
We'll have to come back.
Yeah, that's a wrap for our little 3-view circuit this morning. Next off, we are on to Boronia Peak, I believe, and this afternoon, which is another 6-kilometre loop. And we'll get to see this area we're looking at now, but from the other side, so that would be quite interesting. So we look forward to that.
Do you like my bum bag? Okay, it took us about 2 hours to do the Boronia Peak. It was absolutely gorgeous, highly recommend. Now we're heading into Halls Gap for lunch and a sneaky ice cream. And then we're going to the campsite to set up early as we need to get ready for our hike tomorrow, which is the Peaks Trail, which is actually the reason we're in the region, so we're pretty excited. So we'll see you in the next video. It's about 6:30 here in Halls Gap and we're about to head off for the Peaks Trail. It is only about 3 degrees right now, but it's a nice clear day ahead and 25, so perfect day for our hike. So the Peaks Trail here in Halls Gap, when it is completed, will be over 140 kilometres. That's going to be a 13-day hike, so they have a lot to build here in Victoria. Currently they have a 3-day section open, and that is what we're starting. We're going to walk to the end of where the trail actually keeps going south, and the section now you turn around and come back to Halls Gap, but we're actually going to walk it in reverse. So we're going to walk out to Mt Rosea and then back, and so we're going to stay out on trail just for the one night, so we're pretty excited. Okay, we're officially on the Peaks Trail. The start of the trail goes through the most popular walks here at the Grampians. So our first stop is Venus Baths, and then it's on to the pinnacle of all the walks here, the Pinnacle, through the Grand Canyon. Our first stop is Venus Baths. It's actually really nice. The water's bubbling up out of the rocks from the back and trickling down all the way. So it was nice to walk up here along the creek.
We were meant to come here yesterday. We actually were halfway through and then we were surrounded by so many people. We decided to just let it go because we knew that we were going to do it on the Peaks Trail Loop this morning. And that turned out to be a good idea because we're the only people here. It's about 7:45 and it's a great time to visit.
This is pretty, isn't it?
Yes.
So the rocks around the Grampians are very unique. There's lots of flat rocks, supposedly carved by the wind and rain over time, but I'm really enjoying the very sleeting rocks. Okay, we just climbed out of the valley. It actually got very steep very fast and scrambled up some rocks. Now we're in the sunlight and finally the body temperature's up a bit.
The Peaks Trail is off to an absolute ripper of a start. We're about 500 metres from the Wonderland car park, which is like a real popular tourist route where you can do short hikes from the car park to the viewpoints. So we're excited to get there so far. The temperatures skyrocketed in the last 45 minutes or so. We're in the sun, we're a bit higher above ground level now, so outside the little forest area, and it's warm and I'm sweating and I love it. This is exactly why I like hiking, working hard. As you can probably imagine, there's lots of rock climbing here in the Grampians throughout the whole national park. So I'm expecting the 15 kilometres or so we do today will just be lots of rocks, lots of climbing, and then little descents, and then little incline the whole way through. But it's really not that strenuous at all. So if you're not particularly fit, I wouldn't be too worried about doing this trail so far. We're only 3 kilometres or so in, but it's not hard by any means. It gets the heart rate going, that's for sure.
Look how cool this staircase is. It's like in between 2 boulders. Like so perfectly made. Wow.
If you're curious to know how well marked the trail is and if there's any signs or not, you'll come across heaps of yellow and red arrows along the ground and on corners. Not very often, but sometimes they come once every 500 metres. It's pretty hard to get lost here. There's also big green signs that says Grampians Peak Trail with the yellow arrow next to it, so there's no chance of getting lost, so that makes it a lot easier. How's that going for you? We've just entered Silent Street, so we're going to be as quiet as possible. I heard if you're not very quiet, there's people on the sides looking down at you ready to swipe you. So shh. Silent Streets turned out to be a real winner. The rock formations on either side of us are unbelievably pretty, and it goes for at least 100 to 150 metres, and it's very echoey. It's beautiful.
I really like this Silent Street. The rocks are like really narrow. I can only fit my bag through, but it's very adventurous. Ooh, spooky. I have fit.
Surprised you fit through that. That was quite narrow, wasn't
Me
it?
or the bag?
The bag, I like the bag.
Really close, aren't I?
Yeah. Just arrived at the Pinnacle and it is absolutely breathtaking. We have views of Halls Gap and Boronia Peak where we went yesterday, and we can also see like a massive dam to our right too, which is extremely blue with the sun shining down on it with the blue sky too. This has been the highlight so far. But from the Wonderland car park up to the Pinnacle, it is a lot steeper, and it's about 2.5 kilometres, but it's all uphill, so it is more strenuous compared to the Halls Gap to Wonderland part of the hike at the start, so just something to keep in mind.
we just left the Pinnacle. It was absolutely breathtaking. We didn't want to ruin the serenity of the other people up on the Pinnacle, but there was only a handful of people, which is very rare, especially for this time of year. I remember coming here 5 or 6 years ago and it was packed. I had to wait in line for photos, but yeah, it was just a handful of people and it was very serene.
This rock here reminds me of, I think it's pronounced Kurgebolten in Norway. It's like a large rock squished in between two cliff edges, and then people go onto it for their photo and stuff. It's a hike we were meant to do in Norway, but we never got around to doing it. But this is kind of bringing back memories from when we were researching that type of hike. It's fascinating. We've just arrived at the Sundal car park, which is about 1.5 kilometres before our campsite. We think. Guesswork. But I think it must be about 10:15, 10:30 or something like that. So we're making good time. So I think we're going to get to the campsite, set up our tent, leave our backpacks inside the tent, and then climb Mt Rosea, which is the biggest mountain at 930 metres high, and then come back down. And without our backpacks, it should be an extremely easy walk. Actually, not extremely easy, easier than it would be with our backpacks.
So we just arrived at our campsite called Bugiga. It's only 8.6 kilometres along the trail. It's all been made for the Peaks Trail, so they're actually making 13 new campsites for this. This is the only one built so far. It's all boardwalked to all the campsites, and you do have to book a campsite like a number. So we heard that number 10 is good, so we have number 10. So let's go check it out. So the tent sites here are all circular and they're all freestanding platforms. So I think we're going to have quite fun trying to put up our Z-packs, seeming it's not a freestanding tent, and it's going to be a lot of fun, I think. So on the freestanding platform, there is a wire cable that runs underneath it. So you can connect your guy lines to the wire if you have the right connection. We don't, but we do see that on every single one of the tent sites, there's big heavy rocks. So I think that people have just been putting rocks onto their guy lines. So let's see how we go.
We've just completed our pitch of the Z-Packs triplex here on this platform. It was harder than I originally thought it would be, so we've had to peg a few rocks down on the trekking pole sides to keep it tight, and everything else was pretty good. The corners are kind of tight on the rope because we can't really peg them down or anything, so we hooked them onto the wire, and they should be stable enough for the night. I think there's not meant to be any high winds or any rain, so as long as it's standing we should be fine. But overall, not a huge fan of the setup of the pad, but we made it work.
We just had our lunch at Bugiga Camp. We had some yummy Nutella wrap and salami wrap.
And now we have plenty of time left in the afternoon, so we're going to incorporate tomorrow's hike, which is usually done in day 2, into our first day. So we've got 4 kilometres to Mt Rosea, which is the highest peak on the Peaks Trail. And so far. So it should take us about 3 hours return. We'll be back mid-afternoon and we'll have done about 15 to 16 kilometres for the day.
Oh, he's scared. Oh, is he? G'day, buddy.
He's a big one.
He's a big one. How did we miss you the first time we walked past? Don't poke him.
I want to see if he brought up his hand.
This is a bit fun. Ooh, bit of boulder dash.
The walk from Bugiga Camp to Mt Rosea is probably the hardest one so far. It's harder than the one from Wonderland to the Pinnacle, so we're kind of glad we don't have our packs, but for most people that are doing this trail, they'll usually do this on day 2 on the way to Boronia camps for the night. So it has been a lot more difficult and steeper, and its weather is really warm at the moment, so that adds to it as well. But it is quite beautiful, and this walk is less touristy than the Pinnacle, so that makes it even more fantastic. It's tight in there, isn't it?
Which way?
I don't know. To the right. Go to the right.
now, you know.
Because that's the only way out, really. Well, that's pretty cool. Cool little section there. I don't think we've ever walked over so many rocks in our lives, or so many big boulders. The whole day today, the 15 kilometres so far, have been just rocks every step of the way. So the shoes are getting a really good workout. Lucky you've got good traction on them. And always buy half a size bigger for your feet. You will be rewarded. Survived. Come on, Lauren. Well done.
That was a big one.
That was a really big one. We're nearly at the top now, but this has been fairly difficult. What's wrong? You can't. Oh, you nearly fell over myself. Lauren can't get down. You gotta jump onto the one next to you. That one
here?
Yeah, there.
I don't know if I should stand on that.
That was far more difficult than it should have been. Anyway, like I was saying, it's getting fairly difficult now coming towards the end. I suppose going up and down on these boulders over a certain period of time really takes a toll on your body, especially when you're not really that trained in it. So I'm glad. Still very glad we left our backpacks at the campsite. As advised by the guy at Tourist Information Centre, who said it was a great idea. Good on him. Can't remember his name, but good on him. There's Lake Belfield again. Huh. Fascinating.
So the sign at the start said 4.6 kilometres to the top. It's very wrong. Well, this was like the hardest 4.6. It was straight up, a lot of rocks. I feel like down will be nice, but it has taken us about 2 hours to get to the top, and probably half. Let's hope on the way down. Is it?
Really good. Probably better than the Pinnacle, I think. Oh, I must go close. You can see more green mountains. You can't see much of Lake Belfield like you could at the Pinnacle, but you can still see like the other half of it, which is enough. And it's still really blue. And this hike's less touristy, so it's probably the pick of the two, I reckon. And that's pretty much a wrap for our day. We have completed Mt Rosea at 1,009 metres. We will now head back to Bugiga Camp, where we'll stay the night, and then tomorrow morning we'll head back down the same way we came into Halls Gap. And we may have a little treat when we're in town, but we'll see what happens.
It's 10 to 4 and we're just coming into camp now. It's been 20 kilometres of rock scrambling, so some cold-soaked instant potatoes with crushed grain waves has never sounded better.
And it'll never taste better.
So we'll see you in the morning. Good morning. We had an awesome night at Bugiga Campsite. We saw the sunset on the cliffs, which was beautiful, and then another nice sunrise this morning. It was hard to capture on our camera, but it was beautiful in real life. No one was there, so no camping friends again. Today we're just making our way back into Halls Gap. It's actually going to be close to 30 degrees today here, so we're trying to beat the heat. We are kind of going in the same direction, but there's a few ways to get to the Pinnacle, so we've just come into Sundial Car Park to change direction to the Pinnacle. Once we're back in Halls Gap, it'll mark the end of our Peaks Trail hike, and we think it's about 28 kilometres. So we walked out to Mt Rosea, back to Bugiga, and then back to Halls Gap. And if you do look at the maps, there is a day 3 that goes to the other side of Halls Gap, but we've heard that it's a very laborious task, and we weren't particularly excited about that one, so that's why we've gone back the same way. Like most people, we actually met a couple people on trail yesterday that did exactly the same as us, so they went out to Mt Rosea, stayed, and then went back to Halls Gap, so must be a thing around here.